Now, from animals to plants, saints to good ghosts, herbs to charms. What are we talking about here? Well, I want to tell you about something happening at the Electric Theatre in Guildford on Thursday, the 19th of December. Ajay, Tegala and Zoë Howe are going to take you on a voyage exploring folklore and the natural world at the Electric Theatre. Good morning, Ajay. You can tell us, what's the show called?
Good morning, James. So the show is called Witching the Wild Year.
OK, now, can you explain what it's all about then?
Absolutely. It's a celebration, really, of history and of the natural world around us going through a year, so a full turn of the 12 months. And we look at seasonal wildlife and how it's influenced the history of people, but also how it can kind of be used to help us kind of be inspired by the world around us and live our lives today.
Right, and who's this aimed at? Who's your audience?
So our audience is anyone really who's got an interest in history, folklore, tradition, and of course the natural world, and perhaps wanting to tune into the seasons and knowing a bit more about what's happening in the world around them outside in the wilds of our wonderful countryside.
Now, we are influenced by so much of it. You know, I've got a friend of mine, if I ever phone up and go, I'm feeling a bit, she said, well, it's the full moon that's done that. And we are actually dictated by, well, the moon dictates the waters, doesn't it? And I've met somebody last year at Hampton Court who's written a book about celestial gardening and how you should plant near a full moon as well. There's a lot that we don't really understand, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. There's so many energies going on, and this is very much Zoe's interest as well. But yeah, there's so much we can learn about doing things in the right way at the right time of year.
Right, so Zoe, tell me about you and your involvement in the show.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Hi. It's going to be a really cozy, magical evening. I have to say, it is going to be very Christmassy, but we are looking at a whole year. It's a kind of like a sort of live almanac looking at the year. And as Ajay said, looking at nature and the sort of seasonal shifts and how we can kind of better connect with those shifts to kind of, live a more beautiful life, really. And it's really interesting that you talked about lunar gardening, because I think, we're definitely going to be talking about lunar cycles and the sort of natural cycles that really, farmers have been working with for hundreds and hundreds of years. The idea of kind of planting for increase at the full moon, because that is a time where things are sort of increasing, or maybe weeding at the time of the dark moon because it's a time of sort of receding. It's very, very interesting. We can apply those kind of things to our lives in lots of interesting ways, I think.
Yeah, because in a weird way, we sort of understand how the tide is sort of affected by the moon. But then when you think of it, the land side of it, it sort of does make sense, doesn't it?
It does, and it also makes sense in terms of us as human beings, I think, because we are, famously 70% water. So if the moon affects water in terms of the tides and the seas and what's going on in the moisture in the earth, it's going to be affecting us too. So I think, your friend's spot on when it comes to sort of, mood and all the rest of it, how we feel can definitely tie in. It's very interesting.
Right, and so, Ajay, how do you actually break this down? Where do you start when you're actually looking back on the night?
Well, because it's coming up to the winter solstice when we do it on the 19th of December, we'll start around that time and we'll go from December to December, ending with a celebration of the winter solstice. But for example, I'll be starting off looking at what's going on in the natural world in winter. A lot of animals are hibernating. It's a time for kind of being cozy and staying warm inside, which we can mimic. But at the same time, there's birds like the tawny owl that's already thinking about spring and sort of building up their pair bonds and calling at night, to-wit-to-wooing. So there's all these things going on that we can kind of take inspiration from.
Look, we've had this weird weather over the weekend. I went for a walk yesterday, albeit pretty horrible in the wind, but it was so warm. How's that affected animals this time round, do you think?
Well, yeah, it does make it very challenging, because when the cycles get thrown out and it gets warmer earlier, then obviously insects can emerge too soon. And then if their flowering plants aren't there for them to be provided for, then that can cause a problem. So we kind of give a few hints along the way of things you can do to help. So, for example, planting winter flowering clematis is a great way to provide a nectar source for insects that might be emerging earlier. So you can sort of stay one step ahead and help our animal friends out.
Right, and as far as performance and all the rest of it, Zoe, are you going to be singing on the night?
I wasn't planning to, but I can always pull something out of the bag if need be. It's going to be a sort of very much a sort of conversational evening, very kind of, it's got a sort of cozy candlelit vibe, and we'll have it'll be an illustrated talk as well. We'll have images, and it'll be a sort of lovely kind of to and fro, reflecting the two sides of where we're coming from when it comes to the natural world, because as Ajay said, a lot of it is also about caring for the land, connecting with it in different ways, and sort of encouraging a greater care for our planet as well, which couldn't be more relevant now, I don't think.
Well, do you want to give us the details of how people can get tickets, etc.? And if they want to come along, we should give the date once again. It's Thursday, the 19th of December. Who wants to give the details?
I'm happy to go for it.
All right, go on.
So yeah, as you say, 19th of December, 7:30, the Electric Theatre in Guildford. Just tap in that to your search engine, head to the Electric Theatre website, and you can get tickets from there.
Well, look, lovely talking to you both. Appreciate you coming on. It's BBC Radio Surrey.